Hi, this is Haley.
And this is Heather.
And you're watching the Dunnit Sisters, a Kansas City true crime podcast. This episode is on 27-year-old Janina Vasquez. She was last seen February 12th, 2015 on surveillance at Capri Casino and found 8 days later, February 19th, 2015. Janina Vasquez left her mom's residence February 11th, 2015. They last heard from her by text around 10 o'clock that night, saying that she was going to be spending the night with Nicole and Alan. The following day, approximately at 7:40 p.m., she's last seen by the surveillance camera at the Capri Casino, leaving and then getting into a 4-door red car, unknown occupants. That same car was seen 4 minutes later driving into the Richard Berkeley Riverfront Park, which is where her phone last pinged at approximately 10:10 p.m. She did make a 911 call. It was unknown to us. We don't know when she made the call. We don't know what the call was about. We don't know where she made the call. But she was found 8 days later behind me in under one of these grates about 25 feet down by some city workers. She had her sweatsuit jacket tied around her waist, even though it was very cold. She had no underwear, no socks on, and an ID was found in one boot and her phone in the other. She had fractured wrists and blunt force trauma to the back of her head, which should have killed her immediately. There's a lot of questions that I have about this case. It's a lot of unusual circumstances.
So, Nina's death was ruled suspicious. It was under suspicious circumstances. Once a coroner ruled it as blunt force trauma, they ruled it as an accident. So this is not considered a homicide case. It's considered a closed case. But it's suspicious, and I don't believe it was an accident. And I think, and there are tons of people who don't. Her mom doesn't believe it was an accident. And even though it's a closed case, I don't understand why all the information hasn't been released by the police. For instance, we know by footage that she left the Isle of Capri at 7:40 p.m. And she had left her mom's house the day before. We don't know how long she was at the Isle of Capri because they only released the footage of her leaving it at 7:40. Had she been there since the day before? Because there's footage of her walking around. There's footage of her arriving. Mm-hmm. But all we know is that she left and got into a red car. Mm-hmm. And then we know that 4 minutes later, that red car showed up at the park. Mm-hmm. There again, the camera at the park, it pans. Mm-hmm. So we only have footage of it at 7:45.
Mm-hmm. Arriving at the park.
That's it. Was the car there until 10:10 when it
obviously kept panning?
Right.
So, did she get out of the car? Was she in the car? We just see the car.
Right.
The 911 call. Was it just a drop? Was her conversation? What was she saying? I know sometimes you don't get that stuff out, but
if it's a closed case ruled an accident, then there is no reason why that information can't be given out because it shouldn't matter.
And I don't understand how going to the site, I don't understand how it could have been an accident because she would have had to have left that grate. And was there a ladder down that one or not? We don't know for sure on the opposite side of where we were standing.
Right.
Or the side we were standing, we couldn't see down in.
If there was a ladder to get down there. But to be able to lift it, assuming there was a ladder, and then start to climb down.
And then put it back.
That would be really difficult.
Right.
And she certainly didn't jump because they didn't say that her feet were, she didn't break her ankles. It's blunt force trauma to the back of the head and then the broken wrists. So, was she shoved down there alive and then she fell head first?
But even if that was the case, the back of the head. Because that would be the top of the head, you would have thought.
You're right. They didn't say anything about the top. Her wrists breaking as if she were falling and trying to catch herself makes complete sense. The blow on the back of the head doesn't make sense.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Especially since they said that she would have been killed immediately with the blow at the back of the head.
So you wouldn't be catching yourself because you're dead. So it's like there's a lot of questions about that.
Also, we were thinking her jacket was around her waist. So we're thinking maybe she was sitting in the car for a bit talking. Because if she was out walking, it was really cold out, so you'd think you'd have the jacket on.
And when she was walking around in the Isle of Capri inside, it was on. She didn't take it off then and have it tied around her waist. So it's almost like maybe, and again, we're talking.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she could have been sitting in the car and then taken it off and maybe tied it around their waist. Something maybe went wrong, and that's when she did the 911 call as she was getting out of the car.
Right.
And she never bothered to put the sweatshirt back on, and then, you know, was killed and then maybe thrown in there. Maybe she was running and she felt funny on her wrists and broke her wrist while she was running, and then she could have had the blow at the back of the head and thrown down in the well.
And then the only other thing is the past pictures, because I know the area has changed with the fencing. The only then question is, we think maybe that they got into the gate through, because it's not...
we'll show a picture, but there's like a gap.
Yeah.
So they could have possibly have done that.
Squeezed through, but I think it would be hard to squeeze through with a body if she was already dead. Plus, you probably would see drag marks or something in the gravel. It's just...
There's so many questions. This is just so many unknowns on this. And you could see in the footage when she's walking around the casino, she doesn't have her backpack on. But yet, it's assumed her backpack's with her because I'm guessing it wasn't found at the house. But nobody was at the house when she left. So
and we still don't see footage of her in the
casino
or as she was dropped off, so we don't know if she had it in.
Yeah.
Because she only had her ID and her phone.
And you can see that she has her phone in her hand when she's leaving the casino. So she doesn't have, and her backpack's not there. So for all I know, she didn't have her backpack since the day before when the Alan and Nicole picked her up, and she just left it with them because she assumed that they were going to pick her back up at the casino, assuming that they're really people, and then maybe they couldn't come and get her, and that's when this so-called person in this person we don't know in the red car showed up. And
I don't think I mentioned that no one knows who Alan or Nicole is.
Her mom said she didn't know who those people were. But yet the police had her phone, and so I would think that they'd be able to find phone records and find out who it was that she was going to hang out with that night, because they would be on the phone. Mm-hmm. But again, that's not being released.
With the night before, right?
But they must not think that this is important because, again, it's closed and it's an accident. So the police just must believe that Nina was wandering around the park when it was really cold without her sweatshirt on and decided to squeeze her way through that fence, open up the grate, and then jump down.
And put the grate
back down in there. Because that just sounds like a real fun thing to do at 10 o'clock at night in the winter. But because there's no evidence that this was murder.
Because we don't know what other evidence they have because they're not telling us anything. It's very suspicious.
And it's been 7 years. I don't think we should at all forget about this case or forget about Nina. I would like to think that the police would reopen this as a homicide investigation. I think that's definitely what she deserves and what her family deserves. And obviously her friends need to come forward. I would like to think that they would come forward and explain or what was going on.
Right.
But somebody knows
Yeah.
because
there's
she was
more.
dropped off. People saw her at the casino.
And her belongings don't just disappear and then
Somebody had her things.
her friends would have showed up.
And anyone happened to find her bag, or hey, you know what? I found her bag at my friend's house.
It's a burgundy North Face bag.
Right. So if you are someone who knew her back then, or you knew people who knew her and you knew about the bag, or you know anything about it, remain anonymous. Reach out. Or if was she involved in as an informant? If so, then that would explain why the police would not want to look into it, because I would think that somebody ended up getting her killed.
So
and
that was another, what do you call it? Another
theory?
Yeah, sorry. Another theory was that she was a drug informant. So,
which some of her friends do believe that, and her mom believes that, and that could explain why the police close the case and then don't want to look into it.
And maybe they know exactly everything they need to know, and I just don't understand.
And I don't like to make excuses for the police, but because clearly in almost every case that we've done, they have not done enough. And I think it really comes to the point where we need to say, when is enough enough? When are you going to literally look into these cases and get some solves? So many unsolved murders in this city. So many. And it just keeps building. And they're not looking into the old ones. Barely looking into the new ones. It's like we need some type of grassroots organizations demanding justice for our city.
Right.
And it's ridiculous. I just
the only ones that care are the family members of these victims, and that's where it ends.
I don't know how to do it. We plead with you, please, to share these and to want to help fight for these voiceless people, to keep their memories alive and get justice for them, please.
If this was your family, you definitely would. I definitely would.
Fight to the death, and I mean it. And so we feel like we need to do the same. Fight for these people, because I would want you to fight for me, and I would fight for you.
And if you have any theories, or if you have a tip, you can message us. You can call the tips hotline, remain anonymous. I don't know. If it's a closed case, what do you do with that?
Good question. Don't know. Thank you for watching.
Yep, thank you. So, share, subscribe.
Like. If you have any ideas on any cases, please let us know. We were happy to hear from you, and we look into what you guys ask us to look into.
Right. Well, thank you for watching.
Thanks.